right, guys, we got this. Let's go. Gun wide trips deep. Pros X go. On one. Ready?
Ready.
What's going on, everyone? NCap24 here from HuddleGG. In today's video, we're going to talk about the differences between zone coverage default and match, and which one I believe you guys should be using so you're not giving up some easy big plays. Now, if this is the first time checking out our channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Also hit the bell notification to make sure that you never miss any of our uploads. Now, Madden put in zone default in this year with zone match. Now, I want to make sure that I clear something up very easily for you. Zone match is basically what you've been accustomed to last year and the years before. What it means basically on zone match is that if there are match coverage principles inside the play call that you are selecting, they will match based upon the verticality of routes, how many routes are on their side, and go to the rules that you guys know in the past, right? You know, what I mean by that is a seam flat out of cover 3 is going to match the number 2 receiver vertically if both number 1 and number 2 go vertical, right? Soft squat does the same thing on the outside. It'll come down and trap a player. Now, when you go ahead and switch it to zone default, it's actually a true spot coverage, where it basically means it's going to play as close to the play art as possible. You're not going to see people that are going to be kind of getting sucked inside or baited or all this type of stuff. They're going to kind of go to what it says their midpoints. What exactly does that mean? Let's go ahead and check it out, okay? So I'm going to call cover 3 for this first example, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how certain route combinations go against default and how certain route combinations go against match. If you look at the play art, you see where it says their names of the play: deep zone, hook curl, curl flat. That's basically their midpoint, right? Right in the middle of the circle. And that's where they're going to go. Now, in match, a lot of times what ends up happening is that depending on the amount of routes, their design spots move a little bit. And it moves a little bit to the benefit of making sure that you have more coverage. I believe default is very, very easily to be predictable and be able to get easier catches and easier bomb plays on. And I'm going to show you some examples here, okay? So the first example is simple. It's going to be a cover 3 bomb. Against default, this works. Against match, it doesn't. It's simple as that. Against default, all you got to do is put the B on a comeback, and what you're going to see is that the Y route is going to be able to get over the top to the right-hand side. I don't need any other routes but the Y and the B. So if you're playing somebody that's just playing default coverage, this is an easy one-play score against cover 3 for you. You're going to see how the Y is going to go over here. The B sucks down the player, and you got an easy catch. Touchdown, cover 3 bomb. Obviously, this video is intended for the defensive side of the ball, but you can see if you're playing somebody that's an easy bomb. Now let's go ahead and do the same exact thing against cover 3 when it comes to the match coverage, okay? So we're going to just do match coverage. I'm going to call cover 3 sky. I'm going to call the same exact play with PA zone shot and put the same player on a comeback. So we got every single variable the same, and we'll go ahead and do the same thing. And what you'll see here, unfortunately this guy's going to come over here, but see how that guy got back? I'll show it one more time just to make sure that you see that we just had a little bit of an issue there with some pass rush. So I don't want to change the variable, but what you're going to see is the guy on the right is going to look like he's going to go to the B, and then he goes back. See how he goes back? Cover 3 match, or basically cover 3 sky with the match setting isn't going to get bombed by this easy 1-2 type of route combination, but it's all day against default. So that's example number 1, okay? Example number 2 is hook curls, okay? I'm going to do the same cover 3. I'm going to go on default first. I'm going to do a pretty popular type of setup, which out of gun tight, what a lot of people are running. Well, they'll do something like this. Well, they'll put their, say the buck seams play here. They'll put the B on some type of slant, and a lot of times the X is on a whip route in the Saints playbook. But I want to show you something here. We're in default coverage. I want you to look at the player that has the M over his head. It's a hook curl. Because the hook curl only drops to a certain spot, the B will always get to the top of him so that his route actually goes deeper. So when we look at this, you're going to see how the curl flat does not go ahead and play the slant because the slant goes above the hook curl in a default coverage. So watch what happens here. Look at the B. He's going to go to the top of the player, making his route deeper, and you get an easy catch on the sidelines. Now, if I go ahead and change this to match, that player actually will play a little bit different on the hook curls, and he's going to go ahead and force the player to go underneath him. And because the way he forces the player to go underneath him, the outside player now has an ability to basically play that ball. So watch the B, see how he's going to go underneath this guy now, see how he goes underneath it. I try to throw that ball over here, and the guy now makes a play on it, okay? Very, very subtle things that you probably aren't noticing unless you really have, somebody that's studying the game like we do, point out to you, okay? So that is a big difference between how hook curl plays when it comes to cover 3. Now I'm going to move the ball over, and I'm going to show you how cover 2 plays differently the same way, okay? And these are just tiny examples I'm going to show you that I've found have been really all beneficial of match compared to spot drop. So we're going to go to default. I'm going to call a Tampa 2, and I'm going to call a play that has an outside release. This is kind of a special play, but you'll understand what I mean here. It's called clear out. All I'm going to do here is I'm going to put the B, actually I'm going to move it to the short side of the field because it'll be easier to show you. I'm going to put the B on a comeback, okay? And what you're going to see here is I want you to look at the player that has the vert hook that has the F over his head. So now the vert hook, when it's in default, is actually going to go to the inside. See how his line goes to the inside? And you're going to see how he's just going to give up this easy throw right here all day long against cover 2. It's something that he's going to shade in because that's what default's telling him to do. It's telling him to drop to the inside. So if you see that it's telling him to drop to the inside, you can see how this will able to do it. Now, if I just put this guy on a fade, just because not everybody has that route, you're going to see that it's still susceptible to that same exact throw against cover 2. So in default, the guy is told by his play art to go to the inside. We're going to take advantage of that. Now we're going to go ahead and show it to you on match. Match is going to do a much better job of being able to go ahead and play this based upon the routes that are seeing in front of them. So what you'll notice is that they'll take it away. And I want to make sure that you see the differences between what you're looking at, right? So if the guy goes over here, see how he goes ahead, and I try to throw that, he's right in that little spot against cover 2. It's because that guy is reading the differences between his routes, right? So the vert hook here, instead of just going to where it's told to go, he's going to read the routes and basically play based upon the vertical of being a little bit more flexible, okay? Now, the same thing would happen if I show you what we did with the fade. You can see that he's not going to let up that spot. It's going to be something that, because he played it a little bit more deep, we had to wait to throw it, and it's not open. But it's 100% open in default coverage, right? Now, last thing I want to show you is soft squats, because soft squats is one of those deals to where a lot of people will rely on them to get pressure on the quarterback. It's one of the easiest ways to do it because they're out of the cover 2 blitzes. It covers the most amount of field. I'm going to call soft squat on default. Let's make sure we have default. And I'll just call the FC 2 deep, okay? And all I'm going to do here is pick a play, put the outside guy on a fade, and I really don't even have to, but I'll put the A on a streak, right? And soft squats, what they're supposed to do is basically go ahead and match that guy down the sidelines if everybody's going vertical, right? And what you see here is that the guy's not going there. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead, you know what, I'll get this guy out of the play, just so you can see 2 vertical routes, make it easy, and do the same exact thing. Right, so all we're doing here is we're talking about 2 vertical routes, A and B. So in soft squats, if they were playing match, would match that guy down the field. In default, he does nothing. He doesn't bump the guy, he doesn't play the guy down the field, he just leaves an easy throw. Now, if I go ahead and change this to match, what you're going to see is that guy's going to turn and run with him and make it to where it's not easy for him to throw it. So this is how the game is designed for reasons. This is how the matching principles come into play when you go ahead and what we've done in the past. What was changed this year was a lot of people just didn't understand when their players were going to play like the play art and when they weren't. So like a cover 3 palms, they didn't realize that there was a match coverage and people got upset. So they put this extra setting in there. But in my opinion, the extra setting should not be in there at all. You see how this player, even though we were able to still throw it to him, it was just, he got beat on it. He matched on the play when it comes to match. I'll show it to you again. The guy plays with it. So as long as, you know, you have an opportunity where your guy's not getting beat there, he's gonna be able to go ahead. I'm trying to throw it over here, unfortunately. You can see that the guy will match him down the field and it's not an easy throw. A lot of times you're gonna get the pressure to come in because they have to wait a little bit longer to throw this ball. See, before he just stood there. Now he's going to run with him, and now you have to fit this ball in that little spot. In order to do that, you've got to wait a little bit longer on the throw, and unfortunately, that usually makes the blitz come in. So the difference between the default and the match in the sitting is all the difference in the world on the blitz. So I can go on and on about other things that I've seen as far as the differences between the two, but for the most part, what you're going to see is that you're going to have more success putting the match on and then toggling it to default if you want to use for certain situations. One situation that you can use default for is if you don't have a cover 4 drop in your playbook in a certain formation. So say I'm in dime normal and I don't have a cover 4 drop in here, I can go ahead and turn it to default, and I can have my quarters or I can have my palms play spot coverage, basically meaning that they're not going to match. That's probably your best bet when it comes to using default. Everything else, in my opinion, that I've seen has really been one-sided on what is the better coverage between match and default. Now, if you're willing to basically, you know, play a little bit more conservative, default is going to be more conservative, but you can see how the cover 3 bombs are going to work against default. The cover 2 soft squat, I would never call it with default on because it absolutely does nothing for you. You can see how the hook curls and the vert hooks play a little bit more inside and give up easier route combinations because of it. So I wanted to make sure that you guys understood that if you're playing on default, you might want to reevaluate it and really understand, and then know that the plays that you want to put on default if you want to get a cover 4 drop is your cover 4 matches, is your cover 6s, and all that stuff. I would be a little bit concerned about cover 6 because if you know anything about cover 6, it's got cover 4 drop to one side if you put it on default, but it's got the soft squats to the other. So a lot of times when I see cover 6 right now, I'm just beating the soft squats to the sidelines, knowing that they're not going to match if they're on default. So I wanted to kind of just give you a little bit of an understanding of the two right now. If you guys know from the past and you guys were happy with the way defenses played and understood them, leave it on match from last year. If you want to have a little bit different understanding and play it on default, just know you're going to give up bigger plays, and you probably want to consider, if people are bombing you, switching it back to match.